Welcome to the Ice Guys, presented by the Hockey Podcast Network. Monday, March 28th, Ian Cameron. Voice is a little rough, but other than that, feeling great, feeling fine. Still in San Antonio, Texas for another few days. It's been an unbelievable event, fun times, great people. By the way, the people I've met down here have been phenomenal, fellow bettors. Shout out, of course, to everybody at Pub Sports Radio, Jeff Slaughter. Of course, Jose Bouquet, who's been behind the scenes getting us set up daily, for letting me use the palatial studios here inside Southtown 101 here at Pub Sports Radio to do this show. Great to be here again for a Monday. We got Andrew McInnis back. I've not seen Andrew. I don't think I've seen Andrew since his return from Las Vegas. But Andrew, it's good to see you. How are things on a Monday?
Yeah, great to be here with you, Ian. I'm doing very well. Home sweet home, as we always say. You know, it's always a great feeling to be home. It's also a great feeling to travel. And as I see you're having a great time, I enjoyed my trip as well. The second that the wheels are down, though, and your plane lands, and you get through that, the doors of the airport, you feel good to be home. So I'm back in some normalcy a little bit here. Ready to handicap these cards. And I'll tell you what. I started talking with you about a week and a half, maybe even a month ago. We would talk about playoff race. Well, now I can actually feel more normal talking about playoff race because it's upon us and it's getting very competitive. And, I talked about volume to you plenty of times this year. And, this has been one of those times where one day it might be one play, the next day it might be four. But I'm really, being careful because, after the trade deadline, you really got to figure out who you're going to pick your battles with.
Yeah, no question about that. And one thing we're seeing, Andrew, is the teams that we kind of counted out of the playoffs surging their way back into the race as we speak. The Vancouver Canucks, who we're going to talk about on this show, are one of those teams that don't stick a fork in Bruce Boudreau and company just yet with the way they've played.
Plus 400 to make the playoffs. I got them.
And it is still alive. They are right there. You look at
I thought it was dead too, Ian.
Yeah. Well, it looked like they were just falling apart, but now all of a sudden they find themselves 3 points back of Vegas, who have the second wild card in the Western Conference. So it is manageable. It's doable right now for the Vancouver Canucks. We'll talk about them. We got a great matchup to start the card, and that's where we'll begin on this Monday slate. Carolina Hurricanes, Washington Capitals. We've got Carolina minus 130 road favorites in this game. The total 6 across the board. When I look at this matchup, look, Carolina's had a world of trouble this year with Washington. It's just sometimes there's that one team you do not match up well or play well against. And for Carolina, that's been Washington. I mean, you look at 3 meetings this year, all won by the Capitals, 4-2, 4-0, and then 4-3 in a shootout down in Kakalaki just 10 days ago. Washington's won 5 straight in the series history. They're playing some solid hockey at the moment, the Capitals. I've liked their game. Their offense has really been finding the back of the net of late. Back-to-back wins against Buffalo, New Jersey. They score 4 goals in both of those games. The run is now 6-2 for Washington in their last 8 games. And they've suddenly become an over monster right now, Andrew. How about 9-1 to the over for this Washington team in their last 10 games? Carolina, look, it's been a little bit inconsistent. There's been some rough patches. There's been some bumps in the road lately for Rod Brind'Amour and the Hurricanes, but I thought they were in a good situation Saturday. I laid a small price with them on the road against St. Louis, and they got the win against the Blues, 7-2 on Saturday night, much needed. This is a tricky one because, I remember taking Carolina in this price range the last time they went to Washington, and that was the game where I thought it set up very nicely for Carolina in that game, in that spot, and they got shut out 4-0. And, I don't really want to sell Washington short, and to be honest, I think the price is fair. You're not necessarily getting a great bargain to back Carolina, and you have to acknowledge the fact that this team has had their struggles with the Washington Capitals this year. There's been no ifs, ands, or buts about that. They've definitely had some issues. Svechnikov, the birthday boy on Saturday against St. Louis with 2 goals in that 7-2 victory for the Carolina Hurricanes. So he's one of those streaky goal scorers. And by the way, on the Washington side, Evgeny Kuznetsov, when he plays well, it takes this team to another level. This guy is the ultimate floater sometimes, Andrew. You can't find him with a telescope. He's lazy on the back check half the time. He doesn't really put in that effort away from the puck. But the one thing he can do is make it happen offensively. He can make things happen. He can set his teammates up. He can score goals. And right now, Evgeny Kuznetsov is playing very well for the Washington Capitals. He's on a big point streak at the moment for them. 12 games, point streak, 7 goals, 8 assists during that time. So he's the obvious candidate if you're going to look at a prop tonight involving someone from the Washington Capitals. So I'd lean over a little bit with this total of 6 just because I've been riding Washington, and I'll probably bet it small. But the concern, Andrew, is divisional matchup, big in the standings. Washington's actually closing the gap a little on Carolina and the teams above them. Does this take on a defensive mindset, this game, in a big divisional matchup? That would be the one concern, but I'd still lean to this game over the 6. Andrew, what do you think here? Carolina, Washington.
Yeah, I'm not much for a look ahead, spot type of guy. But let's remember, Carolina tomorrow, they're playing Tampa Bay. So that's definitely a big spot to think about as well. If it's something that you do take into account. When I look at this game here, I mean, I think it's actually a pretty good price, guys, on the Carolina Hurricanes. Washington Capitals, the amount of goals they're giving up, and the higher scoring games they've been involved in, they're involved in lots of over games. I think Carolina, what do I always say about them? It's why I have a future on them. They're a good defensive team. They have great goaltending with Freddie Anderson, and they're a deep team. And I think that Washington is the exact opposite of a deep team. You take a look at their guys and take a look at their games. And when this team is playing well, it's because their top 4 or 5 or 6 players are doing the bulk of that scoring. As far as the Carolina Hurricanes go, there's plenty of guys that can get the job done for them. And even when they aren't scoring in bunches, usually that's when they're having a very solid defensive game. So for that reason, I do like the Carolina Hurricanes. And I just think that when I see how many high-scoring games this Washington Capitals team has been a part of recently, it's quite a bit of a turnoff for me when you play a team like the Carolina Hurricanes that I would use the word comfort. They're very comfortable in low-scoring affairs. They're one-goal contests. You guys get my point here. I'm backing the better defensive team. I'm backing the team with a goaltender I can trust. And I think that albeit they've had some success recently and there is that big game tomorrow, I do this every now and then on the show, Ian. I'm going to do it today. I'm going to be looking ahead tomorrow and say I'll probably be on the over tomorrow in Carolina and Tampa Bay. But as far as today, looking at his side and taking on the Carolina Hurricanes, and again, what I think is actually a reasonable price here at -130. So Washington, they've played better hockey recently. They've been involved in some higher scoring games, like you mentioned. I still think that works to the advantage of the Hurricanes and their solid defensive hockey. So I'll take a little bit of the chalk here and take the Canes on the money line.
All right, Andrew, liking Carolina here in this one. Great matchup, obviously, good rivalry. And, things, it was Carolina, Tampa Bay. Things got heated right at the end of that last game. Not so much with these guys, but watch out for that tomorrow night. And by the way, you guys lucked out for the BetCast. I'm not going to be on it, but Andrew and company will have you covered tomorrow night. What a night of hockey. You got Toronto, Boston, great game. Carolina, Tampa Bay, great game. You've got some terrific matchups on. There's one more I'm forgetting. Oh yeah, Rangers, Pittsburgh. Really good hockey game there as well. So that is a great betcast in terms of tantalizing, appealing matchups to hopefully cash in on with some live wagering last night or tomorrow night rather with the
great games tomorrow. Can't wait.
No question. All right, Vancouver, St. Louis. We've got St. Louis -160. Home favorites in this game, 6 the total across the board. So look, the money's come in on St. Louis. They're off a rotten. Well, they didn't really play that bad in the third period. In fact, they really took it to Carolina in the third period. They just couldn't find the back of the net. And Carolina all of a sudden gets 2 empty net goals and makes the score probably more of a blowout than it really was on paper. It actually was a pretty competitive game, but turned 5-2 into 7-2 late in that game. And it ended up being a win that was a little deceiving because you look at it, St. Louis didn't play terrible, but they did pick it up in the third in that game, but still fell short in that loss to the Hurricanes. And, we talked about this on the weekend show, one of the weekend shows, I think Saturday with Vito. Ville Husso is finally hit a wall a little bit. He's not playing quite as well right now for the St. Louis Blues in between the pipes. And look, they're going right back to him. So they've clearly committed to him. They miss Torrey Krug now on the blue line. That's a significant injury for St. Louis. Yeah, look at his numbers in this last stretch. 1-3, 3.5 goals against, 8.82 save percentage for Ville Husso the last 5 starts. So it has definitely been a little bit of a downward trajectory. Maybe struggling a bit more. I think part of it too. Look, number of games he's playing, they're adding up, they're piling up. This is way more hockey than Ville Husso's probably played at the highest level in his entire career. That's probably making a difference here for, maybe seeing him kind of peter out a little bit. Not that he can't get his game back, or not that it's completely fallen apart, but he's just not playing that, putting up those big numbers, 2 goals or less. He was pretty much a machine like that about a month or two ago, and now you're seeing him concede 3 or more, in a lot of these games. This is dog or pass for me. Vancouver's got something really strong going right now. Look, things were falling off the cliff for them. Just, I would say it's funny how quickly things can change, Andrew. 8 days ago, we're writing the obituary here for the Vancouver Canucks after that loss to Buffalo. They got drilled by Calgary. They came out so pathetic in that game. They get shut out by Detroit at home. We're ready to basically lower the casket and pour the dirt on top of it when it comes to this Vancouver team. But sure enough, they've won 2 of their last 3. They go into Colorado and stun the Avalanche 3-1 on a really tough spot against a surging Wild team. They took it to overtime, lost 3-2, and then beat Dallas 4-1 in a very solid performance over the weekend. So, I like the way things are going here for Vancouver. Demko confirmed in net for them tonight. Not Demko, Halak, I should say, in net for Vancouver. I get it. It is Jarro Halak. It's not Thatcher Demko tonight. But let's not forget Halak's last start that he was in net for the Vancouver Canucks. It ended up, he was actually pretty good, I thought, in that game against Minnesota. And don't forget also the way, Demko was in that game. It's the Colorado game that we saw Yaroslav Halak before that. 32 saves on 33 shots. It was his best game of the year. It's not even a debate. That was absolutely his best performance of the year. Jarro Halak. It was Jarro Brodeur, Jarro Fuhr, Jarro, any great goalie you can think of from the past. That's what he looked like in that game, Andrew. He was brilliant against Colorado. Absolutely.
Everybody was shocked. Everybody was shocked.
I'm sure it did, because his numbers were ghastly, before that game against Colorado. So he's capable. And the way I see it, I like Vancouver. And if he sucks again and he's back down to a struggle here, I kind of like the over a little bit here in this game. And there's some trends that point to St. Louis when they get beaten, by a big margin and they're home. They've really been over trending team. Very, very strong numbers point to that. So I would go Vancouver and over if I'm looking at this game from a side and total perspective. Andrew, what do you think? Canucks Blues?
Yeah, well, money's certainly come in on St. Louis, and I don't bring that up all the time, but I do bring it up sometimes, just as far as tracking where the odds have gone, really, and what the changes have been here. Taking a look at St. Louis, and I was talking about this on a show earlier today, and I know we have to keep the train going, but I'm interested to hear your response to what I'm about to say here. But you're on Vancouver. You said you like them as well, like me, but realistically, what has St. Louis done recently that anybody would be pouncing to bet on them? This is one of those spots where it's kind of like you hope they play better. You hope the coaching quotes and the player quotes come in fruition. This is one of those ones where it's, what you used to always say, Ian, a must win isn't a will win. And this is one of those ones where we've seen the numbers shoot up for the St. Louis Blues. They've been playing poor hockey, giving up 12 goals their last 2 games. And a Vancouver team that's playing with a lot to prove right now, trying to make that push for the playoffs, and yet they're plus 140 on the road here. It's kind of a contrarian play, but as far as a total play goes, I'm actually on the under here, particularly the first period under 1.5 goals. Reason being is just that both these teams have, whether it's been a successful game or an unsuccessful game, there has been a lot of sloppy defense going on. And I think for Vancouver, especially closing in on the playoffs, they're going to have to play better defensive hockey, and I think I look at that game they had against Dallas. You look at the game they had against Colorado. What was the key in that game? It wasn't the fact that they lit the scoreboard up. They didn't have a 1-5 game against Colorado where you had to score 5 goals to win. They scored 3 goals and allowed only 1. That's not going to happen often, but I think it's going to be the case tonight where both teams are going to play very conservatively, and it might shock people lining up to bet this over. So I like the under in this game, Ian, particularly in the first period, 1.5 goals. But as I mentioned prior to the show, or at the start of the show here, and I told you guys, I don't really like to confidently give out picks. If I say it's a lean, it's a lean, but I don't really have anything on the side in this game yet because I'm cheering on. I've got, a regular size bet here that I liked quite a bit. Punch that in about November at Vancouver plus 400 to make the playoffs. So you can bet your ass I'm cheering for them to win tonight. So I see it kind of as a waste for me to bet on them on the money line tonight, as if, I pretty much have them tonight to win the game, but just in a very different way. But I'm looking for a defensive performance tonight.
Yeah, definitely.
I
Interesting.
think Jimmy's in the audio. I think he's been waiting
Oh,
backstage.
there we
I'm
go.
not sure
Holy
if
shit, I didn't even see it. Oh, my
Yeah.
gosh. Jimmy.
What's up, guys?
What's up, Jimmy? How are you? Good to see you. Hear you.
Yeah. How's it going? I'm sorry. I'm at a doctor's appointment, so they gave me a little room on the side here to do it, but I don't have a camera, so
That's all right. All good. All good.
we all have faces for radio anyway, Jimmy. So
exactly.
Yeah, they were not missing out as much. Especially, I could shut this camera off. You don't need to see me and my pale complexion right now. I'm not doing anybody any favors. But nevertheless, Carolina, Washington, Vancouver, St. Louis. We've talked those two games, Jimmy. What do you like in them?
Yeah, I'm liking Carolina, and then you look at the Vancouver. I just want to go in that game you guys were just talking about right now. Something's rubbing me the wrong way about St. Louis right now, guys. I don't know. Like they look out of sorts, very inconsistent. They look like they're just starting to play with each other, like they're not familiar with each other out there. And I look at Vancouver right now, and you mentioned Halak and his start he had the last time. I think the fact that he got that start, I think really, I'm not saying it was a direct result from what the coach did, but the fact the coach went to him in that game instead of the next day and surprised us all, I think it gave him a lot of confidence, and maybe he's got it back now. So I'm going to ride the hot hand, and that potentially might be my best bet. I have that much confidence in Jarl Halak right now.
Wow, how about that? That's a change in tune because you were critical of him recently, and
but
hey, that Colorado game blew me away. Like I said, it's Jarl Brodeur. Is that that's what we saw against Colorado? Yep.
I give credit where it's due. I mean, I stand by what I said about the stuff as him as a teammate last year, but if he's going to win, you got to give him credit.
Yeah, and there's nothing short of outstanding he was in that win against the Colorado Avalanche. Now, consistency, this is a veteran netminder. We have to remember that. So he should be able at this stage of his career to get himself in the right mindset before a start to put himself in position to play well. It's not like this is some inconsistent first-year, second-year NHL backup goalie. It's a guy that's been doing it for a long time. I don't know what your mental preparation, your physical preparation is for him, but that's always been his issue even this year. One really good start, and then there's a slew of rotten ones right after. We'll see if he can avoid that pitfall here tonight with the Canucks and Blues. And you're right. I don't think something is all that right. It's too inconsistent right now. And look, the absences of kind of why I think Vancouver can score tonight. Torrey Krug on the blue line out. Tyler Bozak, look, he's not going to give you a ton of points, but he's a big-time defensive conscience, all right, for the St. Louis Blues. No question about that. A very good defensive centerman for the St. Louis Blues, and they're missing him right now as well. So, and they've definitely suffered because of it. We'll see if St. Louis can bounce back tonight against Vancouver. All right, next up, you guys, Buffalo, Chicago. We've got Chicago minus 160 home favorites, 6 the total in this game. This is just your straightforward. I think goals are scored in this game. You got two teams that are playing for exercise, as I like to say at this time of year. Just have some fun, score some goals. Both teams are doing that right now. You look at Buffalo. I cashed an over yesterday, a rare Rangers over in that game, 5-4 in overtime. The Rangers get the victory in that game. But here's this Buffalo. I think the draw is worth a look here, just because of what we're seeing with Buffalo. They're in every game. They've gone to overtime or a shootout in 5 straight games going into this matchup tonight against Chicago. And here are the Blackhawks. They've played to overtime or a shootout in 2 straight games. Their last 2 games, the Vegas game on Saturday, which turned into a crazy game in the third period. It's one of the games I got to see a good portion of this weekend here in San Antonio was that Vegas-Chicago game. It was wild. I got to see a lot of the Minnesota-Colorado game yesterday. What a game that was. Oh, my gosh. I couldn't get enough of that hockey game. It had everything. Intensity, goals, scrums, fight. McKinnon and Dumba, are you kidding me? I mean, that game just had everything, that Minnesota-Colorado. Give me a playoff series with those two teams, but that's another story. I just think you got 2 teams that are very suspect defensively, 2 teams that can score, though. Chicago can score goals. They are as well right now. 4 against Vegas, 4 against L.A., 4 against Anaheim, 4 against Winnipeg. We've seen 4+ goals now, 4 straight games. Tokarski's too up and down to trust him. He's probably the starter after Anderson played against the Rangers for the Sabres, so you should see Tokarski. Kevin Lankinen's actually played okay, but do I trust him to shut the door completely? Absolutely not. And, of course, he'll be in net for Chicago. So very straightforward, over the total for me, and I think I'll sprinkle on the draw. How can you not? It's very difficult not to. You're talking about Buffalo going past regulation in 5 straight, Chicago going past regulation in 2 straight. So that's what I like in this one. Andrew, what do you think? Sabres, Blackhawks?
Yeah, very similar to you. You know, it's kind of one of those things where I mentioned at the start of the show when after the trade deadline, you have those teams. You know, I've been getting chirps for the past 4 or 5 days about how the Habs are already announced out of a playoff spot, and we're a month and a half left of the playoffs or in the regular season. These teams, you know, you said it yourself. They're playing for a paycheck, playing for exercise, whatever they're playing for. It's not the playoffs right now. And that definitely can impact handicapping a little bit, but it's kind of early to say that. But when it comes down to it, I don't trust either of them defensively, but I do think there's plenty of talented skaters out there for both these clubs. This could be a great prop game, but depending on how much action I end up getting on sides and totals, I might dive into this game prop-wise as well. But I'm on the double up, Ian, the Andrew double, the first period, full game, half and half, splitting it up. First impression, I really did like that first period, and I only had that one locked in. And I looked at the whole game and said, look, I'm going to go ahead and play the full game as well. I think, for Chicago, after Fleury was out or got traded, I backed them against Anaheim there. It was a short favorite, I believe. They were minus 120. They won that one 4-2, and Lankin in the net was his. I thought it was a good spot. And then, they've still been playing a lot better hockey, but both these teams, I think, are going to be involved in just some crazy, crazy high-scoring games down the stretch. And I'll be honest, because it's these two teams, I'm kind of surprised we're seeing a 6 here. I think because they're not a big, highly touted top seed, doesn't mean you can't give them a 6.5. Both teams have plenty of talented guys out there. And also, let's take a look at Buffalo recently. Even if there hasn't been, massive overs games, if you're an analytical person, expected goal numbers would all tell you their games are expected to go really, really high. And I think we could see, maybe 2-1 somebody after just the first period. So, Ian, if you have the numbers up, I don't usually bet these, but what are the odds for both teams to score in that first period? It might be something I look at as well. But I am on the first period and full game over in this game.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, maybe a concern that Chicago-Vegas, the floodgates didn't open to the third, but I think from the very beginning, I think you'll see, both teams playing aggressively here. It's just better offensively. Plus 155 is what I'm seeing with both teams to score.
Not bad.
In the first period. And I've been betting a lot of more of those lately. I took Florida-Toronto, both teams to score first period last night in that game with the Panthers and the Leafs. So definitely a good idea to look for that, in certain situations. And this one definitely looks like that could be a solid fit, looking at both teams to get on the scoreboard in that opening period. Tage Thompson just continues to roll for the Sabres, him and Tuck and Skinner. And don't sleep on Kyle Okposo. This guy's always in that plus 400 range to score a goal. And, he got one of the goals yesterday for the Buffalo Sabres. So don't sleep on him. He's been playing well lately. And the quotes are all positive out of Buffalo. Like, it's Buffalo. Dogger pass for me here too. But when I look at this, I took a shot with Buffalo yesterday, plus 250 against the Rangers. And look, I didn't win, but boy, they gave me my money's worth. Took them to overtime. It was a great price especially once I knew Georgiev was going to start for the Rangers. And I just would rather in this game have the plus 350 on the draw. Take a shot with that than Buffalo plus 140, because we've gotten Buffalo at better prices than this. This is not quite as tantalizing, if you ask me, getting the Buffalo Sabres here at around plus 140. So that's why I'm veering more toward the draw in this game. And again, the recent numbers bear it out. A lot of overtime and shootout games recently for both of these teams. Jimmy, what do you think? Buffalo, Chicago?
Look, guys, I look at the Buffalo Sabres right now and the way they're trending. They remind me a lot of what has gone on with Montreal and the way this team has just embraced the, season basically being over, and they're just out there working on their game and finding each other as a team. And, we've seen that recipe work in Montreal, and I think it's starting to work there in Buffalo. They just seem a little freer out there and have more cohesiveness. So I'm liking Buffalo as the underdog here, and I'm going over in the first and over total as well.
All right, Buffalo plus 140 over first period and over full game as well.
Looks like Jimmy and I are watching a Sabres-Hawks game, cheering on some goals. Yep. Game of the night.
Hey, any game's a game of the night if you make some money on it.
That's what I'm saying.
It can be anybody's game of the night if you do well betting it. All right, next up, we've got Arizona and Edmonton. Obviously a monstrous price here. Edmonton Oilers, a minus 400 in a lot of spots right now. Home favorite, 6.5 the total. Obvious scheduling advantage for Edmonton. Arizona played last night against Winnipeg, a very exhausting, tight checking, low-scoring affair. And look, the Coyotes were a pain in the neck for the Winnipeg Jets last night, but ultimately they fall 2-1 in overtime against Winnipeg. That's now their 5th straight loss. It feels like eons ago. Here I am, cashing multiple underdog tickets with Arizona a couple weeks ago during that road trip, and seeing them perk up a little bit, playing some better hockey. But let's be honest, kind of fool's gold. I mean, if you look at all those games, they got badly outshot, badly outchanced. I mean, the expected goals numbers were just horrific for Arizona in most of those games, completely dominated, yet somehow winning on the scoreboard. And they went through that cycle where Montreal, Ottawa, Toronto dominated. They were in much of those games and still found a way to win them. But now the balloon has burst a little bit. They've lost 5 in a row. They've still been, relatively competitive, but still they're giving up 30, 40 shots every single game. They're asking a lot out of Karel Vejmelka in net right now for this Coyotes team. We don't have confirmation yet for the goalies here tonight for this game. Vejmelka projected, Mikko Koskinen for Edmonton projected. The only value I can think of here, and this is the bet I like the most in this game, in a game that's tricky to extricate value, especially if you like it's certainly a favorite spot, right? It's an Edmonton spot after the drilling they took against Calgary, 9-5, horrendous game defensively. It was just a crazy game. Now, there were a lot of crazy, fluky bounce type of goals in that game, but nevertheless, I mean, Jay Woodcroft's not going to be thrilled with the defensive play of that Edmonton team Saturday night against Calgary. So I'd expect a very good start to this game, and that's really what I'm targeting more than anything here. An Edmonton puck line first period, -0.5 from -105, -110, even money with that. I think that's probably the safest route here in this one. Jump on Arizona early. Even the puck line, the full game puck line, -160 is what we're looking at with the price on that. So I'd rather get the better price, which is the first period puck line. Take my chance that Edmonton plays much better, especially from the opening faceoff, and has a lead going into the first intermission. Andrew, what do you think here? Coyotes, Oilers.
I mean, you look at it right now, -400, +325. Those lines are the way they are for an absolute reason. It has not been a rarity for the Arizona Coyotes to allow 4 goals in a game recently. You look down the list, you talked about them defensively. The funny thing is with this Edmonton Oilers team, they're not one of those teams that is going to take a bad team lightly. They're a team that, if you look at it, for the most part, whoever they're playing, unless it's a really bad situational spot, scheduling-wise, Ian, they get it done against the bad teams in the league. Some of my bigger plays this year in the NHL, I can actually remember, have been against, or Edmonton against Seattle, Edmonton against Ottawa, Edmonton against Buffalo. It's been a consistent thing for me where these are the games that McDavid, I'm not saying these guys don't play well in the other games, but these are the games where you can count on them to show up. I'll be on Leon Draisaitl to score a goal tonight, 100%. I mean, this is one of those types of games where the obvious, in my opinion, is going to happen, and this is why you take a look at the puck line and it's like -145, 150 everywhere you look. Even if you take a look at the team total, what is it at now? I mean, I think it was 140. I mean, let me see. Pull it up. I'm pulling up DraftKings so I can make sure.
In Arizona, right?
No. The 3.5. Yeah. So the 4.5 is plus 110. 3.5 is -210 for Edmonton's team total.
Yeah.
That's the 3.5 is ridiculous. 4.5 is plus 110. So I don't know. Like for me, the way I look at this game is you have to bet periods. The first period puck line, you can get a way better price than you're going to get on the regular game puck line. A lot of these team totals, because the way I look at it, Ian, is that if you're going to play the full game over, you might as well. The Edmonton team total over 4.5. You might as well just bet the full game over. Because I'm not going to shut out Arizona, and do I really want to bet over 4.5 with the team total? Probably not, So the way I look a lot of times in these games, why wait to cash a ticket in 60 minutes? Let's cash one in the first period. First period puck line for the Edmonton Oilers. They won't waste time. They're at home.
Yep.
I think they got off to a pretty good start here. And despite the pricing here, I think it's the best way to go about it. So these games have frustrated me though, Ian, because any game with a -150 or 60 for a puck line, it's usually not one I have a bunch of interest in being a part of.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, there's good occupancy, good call, good thought. Vejmelka over saves prop could be something to consider. It's always something to consider. I gave up a shit ton of shots this team every single game lately. So, yeah, I wouldn't argue with that. Yeah, Edmonton, look, that was no, there's been games where they've really, I thought they played good defensively for much of that Colorado game that they lost, a heartbreaker. They played great defense for, I think, 2.5 periods against Dallas, and then a couple of mistakes that both ended up in the back of their net, or else they could have won that game against Dallas. But no, they've had some really good moments of better team defense, but obviously that was not the case Saturday night against Calgary. So I wouldn't even talk anyone out of the. It's difficult because it's still Koskinen. Can we trust him to keep Arizona 2 or less? But the under 2.5, I looked at it, but even that's minus 160 for that Arizona team total under 2.5. So to me, the value, the best, like you could unfortunately run the risk of games tied after the first period, and then the floodgates open and Edmonton pulls away in the second and the third. You lose the first period puck line. You might win the full game puck line. But look, I don't want to lay minus 160 with a full game puck line. You're just not going to see me doing that. So to me, I still like the price better with that first period that Andrew likes as well, and take my chance again that they're leading after the opening period. Jimmy, what do you think? Coyotes Oilers.
Yeah, you know what, guys? I'm going to stay far, far away from this side. I get what you're saying, Andrew, that they have done a good job against the bad teams, but this is an Edmonton Oilers team. Much like I looked at the St. Louis Blues earlier, just there's something missing there too, still. And they obviously a lot of it's between the pipes, but I think it's something altogether when it comes to their team defense from game to game. However, speaking of that, I think that the defense could be a factor tonight, because they're going to want to really tighten up after, the other game against Calgary and allowing so many goals. So I'm going to go with the under 6.5 on this one.
All right, liking the under, and you would think there'd be some focus defensively for sure after the Calgary game. But the thing that Tourigny said after the loss to Winnipeg, and keep in mind, there's a quote from a coach after they lost the game, but look, he's trying to build confidence and, belief in this team. He said, we worked extremely hard tonight and showed a lot of pride. We battled hard during the entire game. Lots to be happy about, and that's from a guy that's lost the game. That's not a bet on quote going into Edmonton tonight. Sorry, it's not. It's almost like satisfaction over the hard luck loss last night to Winnipeg. So that makes it even more dubious for me, in my opinion, to trust the Arizona Coyotes tonight as they take on what should.
Having said that, though, Ian,
Edmonton team.
Sometimes you have to find a bright spot. You know what I mean? Like, picture yourself if you were the coach of a bad team. Sometimes you can't say bad things about your team after every game, right?
That is true. Yeah, no question about.
He's not going to go after every loss and be like, "We sucked,"
And he's just like, he's got such a not a young group, but obviously in terms of depth, they have nothing compared to other teams, especially in that division. So you can't just tear them apart when things are going poorly. You got to try to hold the room together and make sure that effort is sustained throughout the course of the season, even for a team that's struggling, and in a massive rebuild like the Arizona Coyotes are right now. All right, final game, guys, on this Monday card. It's the Seattle Kraken taking on the Los Angeles Kings. Currently, LA minus 210, home favorites, 6 the total in this game. I wonder, is anybody going to gravitate to this Seattle loss of a game on Saturday night against LA? What a weird scheduling situation here that these two teams played each other Saturday night in LA, Crypto Arena, same building, 4-2 win for the Kings, and here they are 2 nights later playing each other again in the same venue. You don't see that very often, but yeah, I know Seattle revenge. No, I would only look LA, but unfortunately it's minus 210. It's a big price, and they won the first game. They're playing for massive importance, these games. They're starting to get a little bit healthier, starting. I mean, they're still obviously without some key cogs, the LA Kings. When you're talking about Athanasiou, Dustin Brown, Drew Doughty, Brendan Lemieux, Matt Roy, Sean Walker, still missing a great deal, but starting to get a little bit better in terms of the health situation. I continue to be impressed with these young kids on the blue line like Sean Dursey and Arthur Kaliev, who played his junior hockey in Hamilton with the Bulldogs. So I'm very familiar with Arthur Kaliev, and he's played a lot better lately. He's gotten more opportunity for this LA team. He's been good for them, getting moving up the lineup, which has been good to see. I mean, you look at most of the season, he's been more of a third, fourth line type of player, but he's been moving up. Gabe Velarde's back, and up with the Kings again, and he's got a future that he could continue to progress and become a big time player. We know Quentin Byfield's got that potential as well. I hate to say it, Andrew, because maybe 1 year too late, but Philip Deneau's found his offensive game again this year for the LA Kings. Obviously, it evaporated in Montreal last year, but now he's got the great defensive play away from the puck, and now he's got his scoring touch back again for the Kings. So
more goals this year than any have.
Yep, I know. It's just it is.
You know what though, Ian? I'm happy for him.
Yeah,
I mean, not that he has done anything to me personally, but I'm happy for him. He seems like a good guy, and he's done a lot for the Habs. So,
and he's not going to be a pain in your neck because he's out of the division. He's out of the conference.
Yeah.
So that's true. No, he's had a nice season for LA. This is probably going to be a stay away for me, to be quite honest. I mean, LA, I think, got capable of winning this game. I think if you're taking Seattle actually, is perked up a little. I actually took Seattle against Arizona, and they won 4-2, and they beat Detroit before that 4-2, came back to win. But you look at the situation when they play somebody good. I mean, Washington, they lost. Carolina, they lost. Toronto, they lost. Tampa Bay, they lost. The wins were Montreal by the skin of their teeth in a shootout, Detroit, and Arizona. That's about it. So, yeah, I don't trust Seattle to get the job done. It's Kings in regulation would be the lean, but I'll probably stay off. Andrew, what do you think? Kraken, Kings?
Yeah, short and sweet here. I played the over 2.5 team total for the Seattle Kraken. Whether it's been them doing this, or whether it's been them winning or losing, they've quite often been getting at least 3 goals, and it's not too bad of a price either on it. I'm trying to pull up the DraftKings number on it right now, but I locked in. I think it was minus 130 earlier in the day, and I think that's a really good play here. I mean, I'd lean towards the full game over, but Seattle's actually not playing too bad of hockey, especially expected goal wise against some of the bigger teams in the league. And now you're playing an LA team that I understand is a good defensive team, but when I look at the way that they've been giving up some goals as well, I think the Seattle Kraken could get to 3 goals here, guys. So I'm going to take away the winner of the game and just worry about one team getting to 3. So that's my plan here, over 2.5 team total.
Yeah, and we have not seen the guy that's starting tonight for the Seattle Kraken in a while, Chris Drieger. He has not started in a game for a while. March 10th is the last time we saw him at Ottawa, gave up 4 goals. And look, it's been a rough season. Obviously you're going from Florida to Seattle. That certainly plays a part. But you look at the numbers, 5-9, 3.37 goals against average, 886 save percentage. It's been a rough, been rough for both goalies in Seattle. Philip Grubauer obviously not had the season he hoped for as well. But look, so they're playing like a first-year NHL team. Seattle, unlike Vegas, they've sold, we saw all the deals and the people jettisoned out at the deadline by Seattle as well, including, of course, Giordano and Blackwell to Toronto, among others that were traded away by Ron Francis at the deadline. I mean, their vision is long-term, as it should be with this franchise. Jimmy, what do you think? Seattle, LA?
This is a Jimmy pass me, quick and easy.
There you go. Jimmy pass. Nothing wrong with that. All right. Great stuff with Andrew and Jimmy. Now, remember, we've got shows all week. I will miss Thursday's show because I'm traveling back home to Canada early on Thursday, so I will miss that show. But I'll be on tomorrow from San Antonio, Wednesday from San Antonio, and I'll be back home on Friday. I'll be back in my home office there on Friday for the Ice Guys show. So I'll miss Thursday. I won't be on the Betcast tomorrow night, but they've got you covered, 7 p.m. Eastern. It's really a good night to tune into the Betcast. It's a good night because it's an awesome night of hockey. And it's a great night to tune in because people with Ian Cameron overload can enjoy themselves without me there. So there you go. Tomorrow night with the Betcast. So make sure you join the guys. If you want to join the Betcast, make sure you DM them and they will send you the StreamYard link before the show and the Betcast gets underway. And before we get to best bets, of course, we want to mention DraftKings Sportsbook. Great partners here at the Hockey Podcast Network and the Ice Guys, and a terrific book for betting NHL, among many other things. But get involved. New customers with the DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. New customers, you can bet just $1 on any NHL team. Get $150 in free bets if they win. A bump in the win column for your team means free bets for you. If DraftKings Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, you still have a shot to light the lamp. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes with DraftKings daily fantasy hockey contests. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code THPN. Bet just $1 on any NHL team. Get $150 in free bets if they win. That's promo code THPN at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. Must be 21 years of age or older. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Download the DraftKings app. Sign up for an account and use the promo code THPN. All right, best bet time for this Monday. And I will remember to do the best bet cam today on the show. We've started doing that. Andrew, let's start with you. What do you like for best bet?
I'm going to go with the Carolina Hurricanes for my best bet. 3 and 4 nights situation for the Washington Capitals tonight. Obviously, that big game tomorrow for Carolina, but I'm not worried about that. I think Carolina will be very focused. And we talked about how many goals the Capitals have given up recently, the high-scoring games they've been a part of. And I think it's a recipe for disaster playing a team like the Carolina Hurricanes that are just so talented defensively and have a great goaltender like Freddie Anderson. So coming off a nice win, 4-1 Carolina, I feel like they're going to continue that success tonight. And I think it's a very reasonable price here at -130. So I'm going to take the Carolina Hurricanes, my best bet tonight, on the money line.
All right, there we go. Carolina -130, a little Kakalaki Hurricanes for Andrew McInnis with his best bet on a Monday. Jimmy, what do you got for best bet?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with that Vancouver Canucks I discussed earlier. So give me that as my best bet tonight.
All right, Vancouver +140 against St. Louis. Best bet for Jimmy Murphy. My best bet, we're going to go to Buffalo, Chicago, over 6 in this one, around -110. Cashed a winner yesterday with Nashville Predators team total over 3.5 against Philadelphia. Got off to a slow start, but overcame it. And Martin Jones did Martin Jones things for us, as he normally does. So I was very happy to see that. Nashville team total over 3.5, a winner yesterday for my best bet. We'll see if we can add to it. Buffalo, Chicago, over 6, -110 for my best bet here on this Monday NHL card. That's a wrap for the Ice Guys for a Monday. Thanks to everyone in the chat on YouTube for joining us. Hit the like button on the way out. It means a lot that you do that. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Andrew McInnis and Jimmy Murphy, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Monday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. And we'll talk to you again tomorrow on Tuesday. A double dip of the Ice Guys. The daily show at 2 p.m. Eastern, the Betcast at 7 p.m. Eastern. We're back on Tuesday with another edition of the Ice Guys presented by the Hockey Podcast Network.